This is James Bigley with James Bigley Ranches. We're in Toe, Texas. Yes, Toe, Texas. And we're talking about deductions on ranches, so stick around.
Legacy nutrient deduction is a commonly used term to describe a federal tax deduction that's based on the value of a subset of the agriculturally necessary nutrients that are present in your ground the moment you take title to that land, either via acquisition or inheritance. Right, so when I say agriculturally necessary nutrients, we're not talking oil, we're not talking gas, we're talking phosphorus, potassium, magnesium,
Whatever's in that soil right there.
all the stuff that the plants use to produce themselves. Right, so that's what this is.
What are the timelines on how land qualifies for this program?
So there's a couple economic considerations. Right, what we find is land that you bought or inherited in between the early 2000s and current, right, that's the strike zone for this. And it's economically driven, right? Land has appreciated over time. This is depreciation. You're limited by your basis. So the further back in time you go, the lower your basis gets, the economics start to break. Same thing with these nutrients. They have gone up in value over time. So the further back in time you go, the lower the per nutrient value will be. So 2000 through current works on newly acquired or inherited stuff, as well as stuff that you took title to in prior years. There's different rules and different sections of the code that you would use for each of those scenarios. But your CPA can help you work through which one would be most appropriate.
If your company comes out on this property here that's for sale, let's say, what is the process of figuring out what kind of nutrients you have in the soil?
Well,
yeah, exactly.
No,
well, my experience about 3 or 4 years ago, basically I took my tractor, dug a hole, and I know this has changed, but to give give people an idea, what I did is I took samples out of the soil, dug a hole, and then I sent it off to a laboratory. But it's changed now, correct?
It has. So everything starts with soil tests. Right. Now, that establishes what of the non-naturally occurring nutrients are there the moment that we take the soil test. And you know what I want to do is kind of step back for a second. There's 3 ways that these nutrients get into your soil. Right. The man upstairs, prior owners, or their tenants, and you, the current owner, or your tenants. That's it. Right. We generally don't have neighbors throwing dirt across the fence onto our ground.
Nowadays,
Right. So you can't depreciate the naturally occurring stuff. That is just land, and we all know land is not a depreciable asset. We also know that you're expensing the nutrients that you're putting on each year while you're the owner, or your tenants are doing that. You can't double dip on the tax benefits. So this is also not based on the stuff that you applied during your tenure or your tenants did. This is based on a fraction of what the prior owners put onto your soil.
Gotcha.
So the way that we go about that starts with these soil tests. Now we take them at a specific depth. We take that in between 6 and 7 inches deep. The reason that we do that is 98% of the plant available nutrients that exist in our dirt exist in the top 6 to 8 inches of soil. Now, because farmers and ranchers aren't necessarily generous with spending money where they're not going to get a return, right? We don't put nutrients down deeper. Right. Our cultivation equipment and our fertilization equipment, all that stuff is designed for that top layer of dirt. And when you're talking about cattle, right, the hoof action of that herd as they're walking across the ground isn't putting that manure down deeper than 8 inches. So what we do, right, is we acknowledge the fact that the stuff down deeper than 8 inches wasn't put there by mankind.
Gotcha.
We don't test that deep. Now, the reason we test in between 6 and 7 inches deep is to allow for that inch buffer to make sure that we are eliminating the naturally occurring stuff. So what that tells us is what the non-naturally occurring nutrients are at the moment in time that we take that test. But that's not alone enough to tell us what was there when you took title to the land. So let's say you bought that property today, we got out there and did it today, we don't have to make any other adjustments because you haven't, as that current owner, done anything to manipulate the nutrients in the soil. But if there was a gap, whether that gap was one growing season or 10 years or 15 years or whatnot, stuff happened where you were increasing the nutrient levels by applying fertilizer and by grazing the herd where they're depositing that manure. And you were removing nutrients by harvesting that crop and grazing the forage.
Right.
So what we have to do is we have to go through a hindcasting process, very similar to how forensic accountants would figure out what was in your bank account at a prior date. Right? You look at what's in your account today, you add back the amount of money that was withdrawn, you subtract out the amount of money that was deposited, and that gives you that view of what was there. We do the same thing, except we're forensic agronomists.
Okay.
So for us, your soils are the bank account.
Gotcha.
Right? The nutrients are your currency. The deposits are the fertilizers that you apply, the manure that got deposited onto the ground, and the withdrawals are the amount of crops that you harvested or the forage that was grazed. So that soil test tells us what your current bank balance of these nutrients are, and then we review those agronomic records that you, the landowner, would supply to us, and then we do that math to do that hindcasting to get back to what it looked like prior.
Okay. One thing that the comments came up all the time on social media when we talked about this these deductions is, you know, they didn't, a lot of the audience did not understand how this deduction works. It's basically the same, and correct me if I'm wrong, Zach, as writing off your tractors, your equipment on a ranch or a farm.
Yeah, a lot of people think that this is about nutrient level change over time, which is not true, right? This is the same kind of thing as a tractor, right? You buy a tractor, you don't have to go and show your maintenance records on that tractor. You buy the tractor, and per the rules allotted to you over the code, you formulaically depreciate it. This is that same kind of thing, except if you were audited, the IRS could come out and look at the tractor and say, yeah, the value that you depreciate, that kind of makes sense. They can't come out and look at your ground and say, oh yeah, the amount of phosphorus or boron, manganese, zinc, that looks about right. That's where we come in. So this is a one-time deduction per owner, per parcel, that requires a one-time assessment to establish what the value is. And then per the rules of the code, you formulaically depreciate that out.
And honestly, after you state it that way, it's not really a complicated thing. It's just an unknown thing, or a deduction, in my opinion.
It's one of those things where the tax code is a set of rules.
Right.
And the rules are, this is how you as a landowner can go and mitigate your taxable liability. Now, if you choose to not use all of those rules available to you, that's fine. But you're leaving money on the table if you don't. Right? But it's one of those things where it's just another tool in the toolkit afforded to us by the federal government to help minimize that taxable burden as a landowner of farmland and ranch land.
All right, one last question is, what's the turnaround time on the deduction process when you take the soil samples and does someone come out and do this on the property? Do you do it yourself? How does that work?
Yeah, we control the whole process, soup to nuts. Takes typically about 60 days in between executed agreement and when you would have that report. During that time frame, a member of our soils team would come on out and collect those soil samples that we talked about earlier. You would aggregate that agronomic information, right? Your fertilizer application history and your crop production records, or what the number of head was that you had out there. You share that with us. Once our analysts receive both of those sources of information, they will go to work doing the work to calculate the value of that deduction. At the end of that 60-day period, you hand that report to your CPA. They pick one of the 4 sections of code, one of the 3 ways to file that will be most appropriate and beneficial for you, and they apply that to your return.
I know this sounds very complicated, but we're going to have a lot of information in the link in the comments, and also we have blog articles, we have other videos about this process, and you can always go to Boa Safra Ag to get more information. You can get information through us or Boa Safra Ag.